This is another story where the Ramayana and Mahabharata intersect. Yes, this is told as history to the Pandavas. The events of the Ramayana take place in an earlier epoch, the Treta Yuga, and those of the Mahabharata in the Dwapar Yuga. The story is important to compare their respective Vanvas. Their reasons, attitude, approach are different. Ram is forced into exile for 14 years, although he is innocent. Unlike the Pandavas, who are not innocent, have lost in gambling and go to Vanvas for 13 years. The Pandavas keep complaining about it, thinking of ways to hurt the Kauravas, whereas Ram accepts it gracefully. Ram in Ayodhya and Ram in the forest are the same, at peace. That is why Ram is God and the Pandavas are not. There is another interesting, very famous story about Yudhishthir, Nakul and Sahadev. It's called Yaksh Prashna. Once the Pandavas feel extremely thirsty, so they ask Nakul and Sahadev to look for water. When even after a long time they don't return, Arjun goes in search of them. He too does not return. Then Bhim goes to look for them and does not return either. Finally, Yudhishthir goes and finds his brothers lying dead near a lake. Since he is really thirsty, he decides to first drink some water and then investigate what has happened to his brothers. A crane in the lake stops him and says, "You have to answer my questions before drinking the water. Your brothers did not obey me, so I killed them." Yudhishthir agrees. The crane asks him, "What is the most mysterious thing in the world?" Yudhishthir replies that although people die every day, those who are alive behave as if they are immortal. The crane, which is a yaksh, asks him many such questions, after which it is satisfied and allows him to drink the water. Happy with Yudhishthir's answer, the crane offers to bring back to life any one of his brothers. Yudhishthir asks for Nakul. The crane is surprised by this choice and reminds him that he has a battle to win. Why not choose the strong Bhim or the archery expert Arjun? Why Nakul, who is just handsome, talks to birds, and is perhaps of no use? Yudhishthir says that his father had two wives. He, a son of Kunti, is alive. One of Madri's son should also live. Here you see the transformation that has come about in Yudhishthir. In the Sabha Parva, when they are gambling, Yudhishthir first bets Nakul, the brother who is least close to him. He considered Bhim and Arjun apne, his own, and Nakul and Sahadev parai, someone else. The realization that a king must consider even the distant ones as his own comes to him in the jungle. This shows that he is ready to become king. What does Draupadi learn? Draupadi hears many stories in the jungle. One is of Nal and Damayanti. Nal is a handsome, worthy king and, like the Pandavas, gambles away his kingdom. Depressed, he goes to the jungle. His wife accompanies him. He is so miserable that he runs away from his wife, left alone in the forest. Damayanti learns to survive but does not abandon her husband. She believes he will return and keeps looking for him. Finally, she finds him, a broken man. This story teaches Draupadi that her support is necessary for her husband's survival. They were joining, and she is the boat due to which they survive. The wife is given a lot of importance in the Van Parv. She is the solution, the support, without whom the men can do nothing. Damayanti is strong and supports a husband who is a weakling. She faces terrible situations with equanimity. She even has to become a Dasi, servant, under the name Serandri, a name that Draupadi also takes later. Damayanti becomes a role model for Draupadi. What happens in Agyatwas, the last year of the exile? It's interesting from a psychological point of view. The Ramayana and the Mahabharata are stories of kings and queens and of rishis, where servants are always in the background, almost invisible. In the final year of the exile, the Pandavas assumes the role of servants. For the first time, they experience what it's like to be servant. Bhim becomes a cook. Someone who loves food had to serve everyone else before eating. He has to learn to attend to other first. Arjun, who was a handsome archer and womanizer, becomes a eunuch, Brihnala, and teaches girls how to dance. Nakul and Sahadev become caretakers of cows and horses. Draupadi becomes a lady's maid, a hairdresser. Someone who was a patrani now has to do up another queen's hair. Yudhishthir's tale is very entertaining. He is known for and takes pride in always being honest. He comes as a Brahmin and becomes the king's companion. The king loves to gamble and Yudhishthir play with him. He also gives the king good advice. Once the king proudly tells Yudhishthir how his son Prince Uttar defeated the Kauravas in battle. Yudhishthir says that perhaps Brihnala, who had accompanied the prince, supported him. He knows that the younger Uttar cannot possibly have done it on his own, and Arjun, as Brihnala, must have helped him. The king reiterates that it was his son, and again Yudhishthir insisted on taking Brihnala's name. The king insists it was Uttar, and when Yudhishthir is about to repeat his statement, the king slaps him, saying, "Will you not allow me the pleasure of the little lie? Why do you have to be such a stickler for the truth? Do I not know that my son is not capable of defeating the Kauravas?" Yudhishthir learns then that servants are not free to speak the truth. He understands what is called sabhachaturya, tactfulness in court. In the presence of a king or authority figure, you cannot speak the truth. In those days, there must have been no farming in the forests where the Pandavas lived. What did they eat? Did they hunt? These days, people becomes very anxious and hark back and hark back to those ancient times when apparently non-vegetarian food wasn't consumed. The Pandavas were Kshatriyas and they hunted and ate all kinds of food, according to one story. They were so bored and tired of listening to stories and doing Tirth Yatras that they started hunting a lot. Once, Yudhishthir dreams of a herd of deer who tell him to go away from there because their numbers are dwindling. They will become extinct if the brothers continue to hunt this way. It's a message of ecological, environmental concern conveyed through this story. So, this is it for today. I'll be back. Till then, keep listening beautiful stories and keep smiling.